On certain nights, the ancient world held its breath. Nights when the wind shifted without warning, when rooftops trembled under steps no mortal could hear, for it was said that on Tuesdays and Fridays, a presence older than memory broke free from the unseen realms. A presence wrapped in shadow, rhythm, and fire, Agrat bat Mahlat, queen of the demons, moving across the night sky in a storm of 18,000 spirits, not marching, not flying, dancing, a dance that carried destruction like sparks carried by a storm, tracing patterns across the rooftops of forgotten kingdoms. Welcome back to Legends Reborn, and together we deep dive into the myth and legend of Agrat bat Mahlat. The people did not fear her because they had seen her. They feared her because they had not. Because her arrival came as a stillness, a tremor, a sudden whisper of wind brushing the edge of a window. It was in the absence of sound that her presence announced itself, a silence more terrifying than thunder. And those who listened closely claimed they could almost hear the faint echo of footsteps on clay, weaving through the darkness with impossible grace. But Agrat was no wandering spirit. She was a queen, one of the 4 demonesses who ruled the shadow realms beside the Prince of Darkness himself. In the teachings of the Zohar, she stands among Lilith, Naamah, and Eisheth, forming a quartet of feminine power strong enough to shape dreams, distort fate, and awaken desires humanity tried desperately to forget. Yet where Lilith embodied rebellion and Naamah seduction, Agrat was something more elusive. She was the keeper of forbidden knowledge, the whisper behind forbidden rituals, the intelligence that moves where light does not reach, a presence of storm and structure, chaos and clarity, united in one being. Her origins are wrapped in the dust of the desert, a story scattered across texts like fragments of a broken mirror. One tale says her mother was Mahlat, daughter of Ishmael, exiled with her own mother, a sorceress of Egypt. 2 women cast out into the wilderness, walking beneath a sky so wide it swallowed hope. There, in the silence of hot winds and shifting sands, a demon found them. Some called him Agrat, a spirit of the borderlands. From that meeting, half curse, half destiny, Agrat came into the world, born between breath and shadow, shaped not by a single lineage but by exile itself. Other stories ignore bloodlines entirely. They say she emerged from the desert wind, from the rhythm of nomads' drums, from the unspoken fears that linger at the edge of dying campfires, a spirit not born, but formed, the product of stories too old for scripture and fears too ancient for language. But all traditions agree on one thing. Agrat belongs to the places where civilization frays, where the wilderness reaches inward, where the human and the supernatural brush against each other like sand against stone. It was in those liminal spaces that she earned her second title. Mistress of the Sorceress's Legends claims she taught forbidden secrets to those who dared reach beyond the boundaries of sanctioned knowledge. Amamar, a respected Jewish sage, was said to have learned hidden arts from her, not through devotion, but through negotiation, a meeting of wills beneath a moonless sky, a pact whispered into still air. For Agrat did not ask for worship, she asked for understanding, and those who sought her always left changed. But even a queen of demons could be deceived. One night, disguised as a mortal woman alongside Lilith, Agrat entered the court of King Solomon's Solomon, the master of spirits, the one who commanded the wind with letters and circles of light, saw through the illusion immediately. With a single incantation, he bound her legion, trapping her spirits inside a vessel shaped like a radiant lamp. For the first time in her existence, Agrat tasted confinement. For the first time, her dance was silent. Yet legends rarely end with a single defeat, for the vessel did not remain hidden, and its discovery by a king of the next generation would unleash a story far stranger and far more dangerous than Solomon ever intended. But that is where the night deepens, where shadows lengthen, where the next chapter of Agrat's legend unfolds. The vessel sealed by Solomon did not remain hidden forever. Generations later, in the reign of King David, It is said that a strange object was discovered in a cave near the cliffs of the Dead Sea, a lamp-like container humming with a presence that seemed too heavy for the earth to carry. No one knew what slept inside it. No one understood the cracks shimmering along its surface, like veins pulsing with trapped storms. But every legend agrees on one thing. David opened it. The moment the seal broke, the cave filled with a wind that was not a wind, a rush of movement, of voices, of beings suddenly freed after decades of imprisonment, and at their center, rising like a flame given form, stood Agrat bat Mahlat. Her dance resumed, not with rage, but with purpose. A queen reclaiming her court, a storm reclaiming its sky. According to the legend, she stopped before David, not as an enemy, but as a presence impossible to ignore, ancient and bright like lightning caught in human shape. Some say she demanded a night with him as payment for her release. Others claim David did not resist at all, recognizing something divine and terrible in her gaze. Whatever the truth, the legends speak of a union woven in shadow, a night that blurred the line between mortal and demon. And from that union, they say, came a child, Asmodeus, the future king of demons, a spirit fierce enough to shake the pillars of the world. But whether this son was real or metaphor, whether he walked the earth or lived only in the fears of later storytellers, one thing is certain. Agrat's power had changed, not weakened, transformed. For beings of her nature evolved through myth, reshaping themselves through the stories mortals tell, growing sharper with each retelling, more defined with each fear whispered in the dark, and as her legends spread, so spread the terror of her nights. Those who lived in villages on the border of ancient kingdoms would speak in hushed tones of Tuesdays and Fridays, nights when doors were barred early and lamps were dimmed. They claimed that shadows lengthened where no light shone, that the wind carried voices that were not human, that rooftops shuddered under the weight of her unseen procession. Agrat never needed to strike. Her presence alone was enough to unsettle the soul, to twist dreams into labyrinths, to wake sleeping fears that civilizations tried desperately to bury. Yet even forces as old as she could be challenged. Roughly a millennium after Solomon, the sages tell of two men, Hanina ben Dosa and Abaye, who confronted Agrat not with violence, but with the force of disciplined spirit. Hanina, renowned for his piety, met her in the night and spoke words that echoed like iron across the unseen. He did not seek to destroy her, for such beings cannot be destroyed, but to restrain her, to limit her, to set boundaries where none had existed, and somehow, impossibly, she agreed. From that moment, her freedom was reduced. Where once she moved as she pleased, she was now confined to only 2 nights each week, the very nights in which her legend survives. Later, Abai would restrict her further still, shaping the rhythm of her existence into something that mortals could endure but never truly escape. But power confined is not power diminished. It becomes sharper, more focused, more dangerous in its hunger. Agrat's nights became thresholds, moments where the boundary between worlds thinned like mist before dawn, moments where those attuned to hidden truths felt her presence in the prickling of their skin, in the shift of air across their rooftops, in the half-forgotten dreams that lingered long after morning. In time, the world changed. Empires rose and fell. Scriptures were written. Stories drifted across continents like dust carried by the wind. And Lilith, fierce, seductive, vivid, took center stage in demonology. Agrat slipped into the background, her name whispered only in circles of mystics, scholars, and those who sought forbidden knowledge, but forgotten is not the same as vanished. Myths fade from memory, but they remain alive in the places that shape them. In the desert wind, in the abandoned rooftops of ancient cities, in the brittle space between fear and fascination. Agrat survives because her story speaks to something timeless, the fear of unrestrained knowledge, the allure of the forbidden, and the power held by women who refuse to be contained. Her dance continues in the imagination of those who still listen for footsteps in the night. Her storm still moves at the edges of dreams. Her presence lingers in every tale of witches, every whisper of nocturnal spirits, every fear of what moves beyond the veil of human sight. She is not gone. She is simply waiting, as she always has, for the nights when the wind changes and the rooftops tremble once more. And perhaps that is the deeper truth of Agrat Mahlat, that even the most hidden legends continue to breathe, so long as someone remembers to search for them. This is Legends Reborn, where the past still breathes. If you enjoyed this story and stayed with me until the end, feel free to explore the rest of the channel. Leave a comment about what you loved, or even what you didn't. Every insight helps me grow, refine, and bring these legends back to life with even greater clarity. Your voice shapes this journey, and you are always welcome here.